Good morning everyone. Jai Shri Krishna. Today I will give a brief information of the setting of the Bhagwad Gita to explain how the Bhagwad Gita or Song of the God originated. It is referred as the Arjuna Vishad Yoga or lamenting the consequences of the war. Though the truth is one and eternal, in different ages it expresses itself in varied lokas that impart their unique flavors to its presentation. The teaching of the Bhagwad Gita must therefore not be regarded merely in the light of a generalized philosophy or an ethical doctrine. It is the practical application of ethics to human life in a specific situation of crisis that serves as its setting. Since its teachings are exceedingly profound, the Bhagavad Gita required an equally problematic and insurmountable crisis as its setting. Thus, in order to fully appreciate the value of its ideas, the historical flow of events that led to the speaking of divine message to Arjuna by Lord Krishna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra must also be known. The setting in which the Bhagavad Gita was spoken was the onset of Mahabharata, a colossal war that was about to begin between two sets of cousins, the Kauravas and the Pandavas. The Pandavas, Yudhishthir, Bhim, Arjun, Nakul, Sahadeva, were five noble brothers. Their father, King Pandu, had suffered an unfortunate death while his five sons were still young. Pandu's throne had been usurped by his step-brother Dhritarashtra, who was blind from birth. Dhritarashtra had 100 sons called Kauravas, the eldest of whom was Duryodhana. For years, the Kauravas led by Duryodhana had victimized their cousins, the Pandavas, and governed over the kingdom of Hastinapur, which did not rightfully belong to them. As part of the vigorous mobilization attempts, both Arjuna and Duryodhana had reached Dwarka to request the help of Lord Sri Krishna. Arjuna elected to have Sri Krishna on his side, though without weapons. He decided that if God was with him, he could never lose. Duryodhana was pleased by Arjun's choice, for he believed solely in material strength based upon military might. The Supreme Lord Sri Krishna thus became the charioteer of Arjuna in the war. On the verge of the battle, huge armies had gathered on either side upon the battlefield of Kurukshetra. This was impending war of Mahabharata, the great battle of India. The situation was extremely grave, as an era was about to self-destruct itself in internecine warfare. Just before the combat was about to begin, Arjuna requested Lord Krishna to pull his chariot between the two armies. On seeing the warriors who had arrayed themselves for combat, Arjuna lost his heart. In a fit of despondency, he threw down his bow and refused to fight. Arjuna was victim of a moral combat and a moral paradox. On the one hand, he was facing persons who deserved his respect and veneration, such as his grandfather Bhishma, his teacher Dronacharya, and others. On the other hand, his duty as a warrior was to fight the war of righteousness. Yet no fruits of victory seemed to justify such a heinous act. It seemed like a dilemma without solution. Bewildered, demoralized, disappointed with life, and dejected with the events, Arjuna surrendered to the Supreme Lord and supplicated for guidance on what the proper course of action for him was. In this state of Arjun's moral confusion, Sri Krishna set out to enlighten him. The Bhagwad Gita, or the Song of God, was revealed by Lord Sri Krishna to Arjuna on the threshold of epic war of Mahabharata. The Bhagwad Gita is primarily a conversation between Lord Sri Krishna and Arjuna. Yet the first chapter begins with the dialogue between King Dhritarashtra and his minister Sanjaya. Dhritarashtra, being blind, could not leave his palace in Hastinapur, but was eager to know the ongoings of the battlefield. Sanjaya was the disciple of sage Vedas, the author of the epic Mahabharata and several other Hindu scriptures. Sage Vedas possessed a mystic ability to see and hear events occurring in distant places. He had bestowed upon Sanjaya the miraculous power of distant vision. Therefore, Sanjaya could see and hear what transpired on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, and gave a first-hand account to King Dhritarashtra while still being in his palace. The dialogue between Sanjaya and Dhritarashtra I will explain in my next video. Namaste.